Meatloaf once said 2 out of 3 ain't bad. And that's what I got tonight. So I'll just do the scores. Now, it's worthy of note throwing up there that I saw lineups tonight and nobody was playing their A lineup. This is when everybody's dog's breakfast is on the ice. Boston beats Washington 5-2. Columbus beats Chicago 4-1. Interestingly enough, and not on the board, Berube was in net for Columbus, and his stats were better than the stats of either Ward or Delia. So worthy of note. Philly beats the Islanders 5-1. Buffalo beats Pittsburgh 3-2 in the debut of some number one draft pick kid. Carolina beats Tampa 4-1. Toronto beats Ottawa 4-1 in the hometown hockey game, which wasn't bad. St. Louis lost to Dallas 5-3. Vegas beat Colorado 5-1. Arizona beat LA in Arizona 4-2. San Jose beat Anaheim 4-1. And in a split squad game, Arizona in LA won 4-3. They didn't actually travel through time and play both games at the same time. And Edmonton won in Vancouver 4-2. So let's get into the stat lines from tonight. Vladimir Sobotka is his debut, I believe, for Buffalo was tonight. I don't remember seeing anything about him last night. 1 goal, 1 assist versus Pittsburgh. If Sobotka can get back to what he was when he was in, I want to say when he was in Boston, is when he was last that player that I loved. I'm telling you, Buffalo, you are really going to like this guy. Dahlin gets into 21 minutes and 32 seconds of ice time. No points for him, but the fact he played over 20 minutes, good sign for him already. Ricola got a goal for Pittsburgh tonight. I had to get it in there. You knew somebody somewhere saw that goal and went, "Oh, Shannon's going to mention it tonight, isn't he?" Yeah. Put him on the team. And Foodie got a goal tonight versus Chicago. So Columbus, top draft pick, gets a goal tonight. We'll see what happens. Interestingly enough, Brennan with 3 assists for Philly versus the Islanders. Don't know much about Brennan, but 3 assists, not too bad. And Anthony Stollers, a guy that I really liked a couple years ago, had an injury-riddled season last year. 31 saves for Philly versus the Islanders on 32 shots. At the other end of the ice, Leonard, 18 saves on 22 shots versus Philly. So not a fantastic start for Leonard. It's preseason. We'll see what happens. Surprisingly, and I mean surprisingly, Zach Senyshyn with 2 goals tonight against Washington. If Senyshyn has a really solid camp, if he's able to score like this, he'll crack the roster. I believe that. And interestingly, Vladar, 31 saves for Boston on 33 shots, played the whole game. Good for him. Boston definitely needs a big-time prospect in net. And if Vladar can be that guy, I will be very, very happy as a Boston Bruin fan. At the other end of the ice, Samsonov for Washington had 9 saves on 11 shots, and Holtby saved 6 out of 8. So, again, it's first game, second game for some of these teams, and they don't have their whole complement of defensemen in front of them. There's a lot of miscommunication that goes on. I'll get to some miscommunication in what I saw tonight, and I'm also going to talk up somebody as well that's not on the board here. Svechnikov had a goal and an assist tonight for Carolina versus Tampa Bay. John Tavares, I don't think Toronto's won the Stanley Cup yet, but tonight is not going to silence Leaf fans at all. If anything, they're going to get louder. 2 goals and an assist for Tavares, a goal and 2 assists for Marner versus Ottawa, and they looked fantastic. Tavares with the nose for the net. Are they garbage goals? Yeah. Does it matter? Not really. They're goals. Sparks, 22 saves on 22 shots. He kind of outdueled McElhinney. We'll see what ends up happening from here. Could Sparks get that job and McElhinney ends up out of the job? I thought Sparks looked good in what I saw, and honestly, if he can keep that up through preseason, I would not be surprised to see him end up getting the backup job. Kyrou with a goal and an assist versus Dallas. Of course, he's one of the wild cards for St. Louis, a team that's acquired a bunch of depth. But if Kyrou can force his way into the lineup, they're that much deeper. Brandstrom had a goal and an assist versus Colorado, so don't look now. But Vegas has a defenseman who looks like he's ready for the NHL right now, at least statistically, who could fill in while Schmidt's hurt and maybe put up more points than Schmidt might have and might force somebody else out of the lineup when Schmidt gets back. And I can't help but say that tonight was a night to troll the Montreal Canadiens. First, Zach Fucale, a forgotten guy. I didn't blame Montreal for just letting him go. He makes 24 saves for Vegas on 25 shots tonight. So Vegas does it again. And meanwhile, in Arizona, Galchenyuk with 2 goals versus LA. So we have Pacioretty getting a goal in his first game for Vegas. Fucale putting up a win, 24 saves on 25 shots in his first game for Vegas. And Galchenyuk with 2 goals for Arizona. So once you leave Montreal, everything is sunshine and puppies, I guess. Pettersson had an assist tonight versus Edmonton. I'll circle back to him because I watched that game. Barclay Goodrow, 2 goals and an assist versus Anaheim. Not bad stats, Mr. Goodrow. And Chekovich, 1 goal, 1 assist versus Anaheim. Chekovich, that's fantastic. That sounds like a name you'd make up for somebody who's like a 4th liner in NHL 19. I don't know, Vladimir Chekovich, he's a checker. Just give him 99 for checking. I don't know. I don't care. Let's just play the game. Ty Ratty with 2 goals versus Vancouver. He looked really good. And Osterley with 3 assists for Arizona versus LA. So if Osterley's able to put up those kinds of numbers, you're good. Now, to what I watched tonight. I watched parts of, didn't see the entire game between Toronto and Ottawa. Ozhiganov is a keeper. It's early. It's 1 game. But apparently the coaches were thrilled. Management was thrilled. Ozhiganov, his head manning the puck is fantastic. His puck sense is good. Defensively, he looked solid. I really liked what he did for Toronto tonight. If he can keep that up, if that's his game, and if when he adjusts he gets even better, Toronto's defense might be just fine. And, because him and Dermott, if they're able to step in and get top 6 spots and solidify that spot for Toronto, it's their one weakness, and it could be taken care of from within, which is kind of what Toronto was betting on the whole summer. You have to think there was a little bit of nerves about that, but in general, it's worked out pretty darn well. Vancouver. Now, this was not Vancouver's best lineup. Besser's out of the lineup. Ulevy didn't play tonight, so that was disappointing. Pettersson looked fantastic. Pettersson lines up. He's got a pretty darn good shot. I'd expected a lot more passing and a lot less shooting. Didn't hit the net a lot, and there was the one accidentally comedic moment in the first period where the puck's passed to him. He steps on it, falls down, and the puck comes out. And I thought, it might be one of those years. I don't know that Pettersson's necessarily going to live up to the amount of hype, because I don't know that anybody could. I think the amount of hype that he's got in Vancouver is insane. And I kind of feel bad for the kid, because the pressure he has is one of... I think the best way for him to come in would have been during the last year for the Sedins, because then they're there to talk him through things. They're still the go-to guys. They're still the big names. I know that you've got Horvat and Besser, but it's different. They're still relatively young themselves. And they are not dealing with a culture shift like the Sedins did when they came over, and like Pettersson will now. So Elias looked good tonight. I think he'll be a goal scorer. I think he's going to be fantastic. I thought Goldobin looked solid at times tonight as well. On the Edmonton side of things, is Benson going to win himself a job in the lineup? Yamamoto, in my eyes, definitely has a job sewn up in the lineup. And Ratty has a nose for the net. And I'm not sure. This is what we expected of him when he came into the NHL. And it's kind of taken a while. The other thing that stuck out for me tonight with the Canucks game is I didn't think Nilsson looked good. There were a couple of those goals that I kind of winced at, and I thought, this is bad, and here's why. Demko can play. Demko's a big kid. Now, if Demko outplays Nilsson in the preseason, we can all agree that this year's probably going to be a down year for Vancouver. Look at Ben Hutton's bobble that led to the second goal by Ratty. The whole game, they're talking up how Ben Hutton found himself on the outside looking in. Travis Green talked about his conditioning, and he's gone out and he's done all kinds of conditioning, and he's going to be fine. But that bobble of the puck that led to Edmonton getting that goal to salt the game away, that's the kind of play that we started seeing from Hutton last year. And it doesn't matter what condition you're in, if you're coughing up the puck in the third period and leading to a goal, you're probably going to find yourself on the outside looking in. The Canucks, we can all agree, are probably going to have a poor season. But to say, well, full-on tank for Hughes, it doesn't make any sense. It just doesn't. because you look at who's been drafting number 1 overall, and yes, sometimes it is the worst team overall, but more often than not, it isn't. So there's no point in trying to get that last spot, and when the Canucks have been bad, it still hasn't really helped them very much. Although that being said, look, Pettersson was one of the guys that the Canucks got when they dropped in the draft, and he looks pretty damn solid. So just roll with it. I do think that there's going to be some interesting decisions in the Canucks lineup because, again, with the Sedins gone, it just looks so wide open. Like, even Edmonton, and Edmonton, we can agree, had a poor season last year, but Edmonton has a hierarchy in their lineup, and they have certain players you know are going to make it. One that impressed me tonight, I thought Puljujarvi played really, really well. I thought this was one of the best games I've seen him play. Now, admittedly, and with an asterisk, these are teams that at this stage of the game are not playing their A lineups. There are guys who are sitting out, either to rest up for the regular season because they're still hurting. There are guys who are playing every other night. You don't want to risk your stars getting hurt. And, you know, you want to see what these kids can do. But I honestly thought Puljujarvi looked really good tonight. I thought Benson, when he was on the ice, looked pretty good too. Puljujarvi didn't get a ton of ice time in comparison with some of the other forwards for the Oilers. But, you know, some pretty solid numbers for Edmonton tonight. And if that's the kind of team that they're gonna be this year, they're gonna surprise some people. Because this was a lineup that, I mean, the only Oiler that I thought had a poor game was Kassian. You know, it's like the Oilers go up, and what happens? Kassian takes a stupid penalty, and the Canucks score, and I'm like, yeah, that's about it. Yeah, that's about right. Yeah, Granlund's behind the net, and Kassian just comes in and just knocks him down, interferes. Yeah, that's a Kassian penalty, and that was right after Edmonton had scored. So, again, you know, Cassian's a guy that if I'm an Oilers fan, I might be looking at him as a guy that maybe it's time to push him fourth and beyond. You know, fourth line and maybe out. I don't know. It's just the bad penalties. I remember seeing them a lot in Vancouver with Kassian, and it was really frustrating. And the only other Canuck that frustrated me that way was Sergio Momesso. Actually, no, that's not true. Dave Scatchard. Dave Scatchard was another one in Vancouver that frustrated me with bad penalties at a bad time. And it's just, some players are like that. So we'll see what happens from tonight going forward. The Canucks play again tomorrow, so I'll be watching that one as well. They play 3 games in 3 days. This is part of the reason they have the split squads. And you can get a really good look at everybody. So there are some interesting stories from tonight. Let me know which surprises you the most. I would think that if you're a Vegas fan, you got to feel pretty good right now. They won 2 games already, and it's only preseason. But remember, the last preseason, they looked pretty good too. And we were all writing them off and going, these games don't matter. Vegas is trying so hard. This is so sad. And then they ended up with 109 points in the regular season. So double dumbass on us. All right, there you go. Let me know which player impressed you tonight. I understand there's a lot of guys who are not on the board. I don't have any more room on here, and I don't put up veterans that we know are making it into the lineup. I want to focus on guys who are new to their teams, rookies that are trying to impress, or players who are trying to bounce back. Those are the ones that I'm trying to look at when I look at preseason, because we already know guys like Jamie Benn, Alex Radulov, even Nichushkin. They're going to make the roster, so there's no point in putting their stats on the board because we know they're going to make it. During the regular season, absolutely, throw their stats on the board, go through with game reviews. This year I'll probably be a little more in-depth than I was last year, where very often I would have to rush the review because I had to work the next morning, or I'd have to rush the previews because I had to work that day. I don't have to worry about that as much now. I will have a lot more time to be able to devote to getting into the nuts and bolts of each game. So there you go. Let me know which game surprised you tonight. Again, nobody played their A rosters. They're still split squads. Nobody played an A roster. But it's hard not to get excited when you see a rookie going out there and playing so darn well. And some of these rookies are going to end up being pretty darn good right through April this year and maybe beyond. So let me know your thoughts as always in the comments section below. Don't forget to hit like and subscribe if you're browsing your way through. You just happened upon this video. Thank you guys so much for watching. I'll talk to you again soon.